Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office with a detailed update on the tropics for July 28th, 2023 on this fantastic Friday. In this update, we are going to update you on 96L and a couple of others that we're watching again from the National Hurricane Center. One is over Georgia and the other one is now approaching the Eastern Pacific. Now, if you're new to the channel and you really like these detailed tropical weather outlooks, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, sharing this video with your family and friends on social media, and leave an awesome comment in the section below this video. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at the true color satellite imagery provided by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. He is a very awesome meteorologist, folks, that forecasts tropics when there is something going on, and he also provides these free satellite imagery maps for the public to view for free. So huge shout out goes to him. There will be a link in the description below this video leading to tropicaltidbits.com and his website. So yeah. So let's get right into it. We're tracking 96L that has now a 60% chance of tropical formation. This is based on the National Hurricane Center. I have it circled in here with an X. That's the orange color that you see. And the area of possible tropical development that is outlined here on the map. We also have two areas to watch, but I mean, these are already making landfall, so they pretty much are not causing a whole lot of tropical weather concern, other than they're bringing quite a bit of rainfall, some strong winds at times with some of the thunderstorms that do move on top of you, and some frequent lightning strikes that are associated with these tropical waves. But otherwise, right now, it is busy, but it could be a lot busier. We could be looking at a major hurricane in late July, but right now, pretty calm to say the least. We also have a lot of Saharan dust. I'm going to outline it here in orange since it is actually, let's do yellow. Yellow is my favorite color, so let's kind of do that. This is where all the Saharan dust is on the imagery, and that means the air is really dry. Coming off of Africa, this is what we call our SAL or Saharan air layer, that dry, dusty air that prevents tropical formation usually this time of the year. And you can see it here with a lot of the nimbostratus clouds that are coming in out of the northeast. That's really stable air, warm air aloft, cooler, more moist air at the surface. We're just not going to get much in the way of tropical development. However, we are seeing another tropical wave coming off of Africa that is trying to get a little bit better organized, but due to the dry air and the stable air that is to the north, there is no chance of this wave developing anytime soon for the time being. Now, moving on to our 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center that was released about 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on these disturbances. First of all, we have one in the southwestern Atlantic, right over the southeastern tip of Georgia. This has a 0% chance of tropical formation. All you're seeing pretty much is some breezy winds, some heavy rainfall and thunderstorms, some of them capable of producing some flash flooding, but that's really about it with that disturbance that is in the southeastern portion of the U.S. We also have another disturbance in the southwestern Caribbean Sea. This is a larger area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms, and this has a 10% chance of tropical formation in the next 2 to 7 days. So that's what that shows, but really, a lot of attention on this disturbance, but really nothing going to be impacting the Caribbean just yet, at least for right now. If this is able to develop later, it might go a little further west. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But either way, we do have a medium chance for this disturbance to develop into a depression or a storm in the next 7 days. As you can see there, there's a 60% chance for the next 7 days from the National Hurricane Center, and a tropical wave located midway between the Cabo Verde Islands and the Lesser Antilles continues to produce disorganized cloudiness and showers. Environmental conditions are expected to be favorable for gradual development of this system during the next few days, and a tropical depression could form early next week while the disturbance moves west-northwestward to the northwest at about 15 miles an hour. So again, it's not moving fast, it's not moving slow, it's moving at a pretty typical 15 miles an hour. So now, with that being said, it's time to take a look at our numerical global computer models. We are going to use 3 global models, and the reason for that is so that way I am providing as accurate, honest information without scaring you all, causing hype, causing fear. We do not want that in my videos, correct? Because I know I can name a few YouTubers, I'm not going to name them in this video, that do tend to overdo things quite a bit. So looking at the European model, so what you're looking at here is a 3 plot system. We're looking at basically, this is the cyclonic vorticity. So I'm just kind of circle out areas here, making sure you all understand with what I'm looking at, and so you can kind of learn off from what I'm seeing too. So first of all, we're looking at the cyclonic vorticity. That is the red, yellow, green colors that we're seeing, kind of a rainbow on the scale. And then the geopotential height are these lines. These are at 500 millibars. So this is the mid and upper level atmosphere, showing you what the thicknesses in the atmosphere are. So higher heights mean higher geopotential heights, usually ridging that is in place, versus lower heights mean troughs. So we're seeing troughs here, because our heights are lower. And then another cool thing, I think I made a face there. I don't know if you guys see that. I made a weird face. Oh my goodness. You guys are probably going to laugh at me and probably smash that like button and subscribe just because I literally made a face. I think it's a coincidence. All right. But anyways, this could even be a face in itself. 2 eyes, maybe a nose, and maybe even a little mouth right there. I love drawing images in my YouTube videos. But okay, I'm getting distracted here. But either way, these wind barbs are at 200 millibars. So we're looking at the very top of the atmosphere where weather occurs. So this is at about 35, 37-ish thousand feet where these wind barbs are. The mid-levels pretty much are at 18,000 feet. That's geopotential height. And then the surface, or the low levels, that is where our vorticity is. So 3 plots in one image, provided and really well encoded by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. I mean, I cannot ask for any better maps than the maps that we're looking at here. All right, I've been just going blah, 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 blah in this video. Let's just kind of get into the forecast, okay? So here's a look at this afternoon, and we can see players on the field. There is our disturbance. That's the 60% chance. We have another little of disturbed weather coming off of Africa. I don't think there's a lot of impetus, not a lot of agreement. That system coming off of Africa will do much at all. And then we have, again, X95L. That is, again, really weak system, really not going to do much, but it might do something else in the Eastern Pacific where we have a high chance of formation there. And then, of course, there is the signature of that weak disturbance moving into Georgia, bringing thunderstorms, maybe some flooding, gusty winds, inclement weather, you name it. But, you know, it just tells you that we don't need a tropical depression or a storm to cause impacts. And this is causing impacts. Impacts is what impacts people. Rain, wind, thunder, those are impacts. Flooding, storm surge, yep, there's impacts with these systems. Not this one particular, but you know what I mean, right? So there are impacts, just this time around, not very significant at all. Okay, going forward let's go into day 2. I gotta kind of move through this video rather quickly so it doesn't end up being super duper 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 quadruply long. Okay, so interesting enough, there's that system, and then look at it. Our disturbance might move back all over water on the Euro. That's what the Euro is showing here on the plot. And then there is our tropical wave, really broad in nature, kind of stretched thin here. That's why I don't think it's going to really bundle up very quickly, because it's going to ingest more Saharan dry air to the north. Let's go forward in time here. And as we go forward, let's go to day 5. Now there's our system right there. Little bit of a tight area of spin in the atmosphere. And I mean, the vortex itself is not very deep because we have 200 millibar winds here coming in out of the southwest. So means maybe a little bit of shear on this system, just going to kind of try to pull the disturbance apart a little bit. And yeah, not a whole lot going on in the tropics other than maybe something else here. But each time these disturbances try to develop, the negative factor here is going to be the dry Saharan air in the deep layers of the atmosphere. And again, these systems, again, time and time again, don't like dry air. And we'll be looking at the moisture plot here in a second. But also, interestingly enough, this trough that is in the northeastern U.S. is actually going to get eroded by more large-scale ridging out here in the Atlantic, and that might change the pattern around enough to where if we get any of these tropical waves off of Africa, they might go much further west, and they might develop a little more quicker. All right, so that's this date. We're going to only go out to, let's do this, August the 4th. Another trough comes in, but latest ensembles do indicate that this trough will eventually get eroded by building large-scale ridging. You can see it even here. Here's another ridge at the 500 millibar level, another ridge here. So overall, large-scale ridging is going to try to back build further west here over the western Atlantic. And really nothing much going on as far as that goes. Now, the moisture plot, self-explanatory. You know, I'm sure you all know how to read a moisture plot. Not saying that you guys don't know how to read it, but self-explanatory here. The brown colors indicate really dry air, Saharan air usually. Again, as the air moves west off the Saharan desert, it usually dries out. And that's what we're seeing here. So dry sinking subsidence air, convection cannot thrive in this. So we have a lot of downward motion, a unfavorable time in the Atlantic. In despite, we have this disturbance. See that? It just doesn't add up. We have dry air here, dry air here, dry air all around the system. And again, systems are not like this don't thrive very well. And you can see what I mean by that. I mean, there's just so much dry air out here in the Atlantic. Another outbreak of Saharan dust potentially here, the SAL in full swing at this point. Not as significant as it was last year by any means at all. We have a lot more moisture out there right now, but it is dry, and climatological, at least speaking, we are not supposed to have a lot of moisture out there in the Atlantic right now. We're supposed to have a little more shear and a little more drier air. But the fact that we're seeing medium amounts of dry air really is telltale of what is to come by late August. Okay, and that's 10 days. More dry air. The Euro just not having it at all with any formation, at least in the next 7 days. Beyond that, possibly even 10 days. So looking at the GFS model, this is the US GFS model in other words. And yeah, oops, let me stop it there. I went ahead of myself. The GFS, interesting. It wants to kind of get better aligned with the Euro. The whole time the Euro has not had a whole lot of impetus and hope that this thing would likely develop. Right now, at the best chance, this becomes maybe tropical depression. Probably not going to get named. Now, I could be wrong, but I really want to keep it low here. I don't want to get ahead of myself at pre-naming any systems. Here's our trough that is in the northeastern U.S. And this is definitely going out to sea. There is no chance of this headed west at all. It just does not make sense because when we have a trough like this in the northeastern U.S., it usually keeps this ridge off into the Azores. So we have the edge to this ridge that is over Bermuda, and usually kind of the alleyway for these systems is generally going to be out to sea, or kind of in the middle of the Atlantic usually, and won't hurt the U.S. Now, by mid-August, some model guidance does indicate we're going to get ridging out here in the northeastern portion of the U.S., large-scale ridging across the U.S., and so if we get any of these tropical waves, they could go much further west, and you know what that means. If any of these waves take an advantage of what I'm about to show you, it could get really bad very, very quickly. Okay, the Canadian model run. Actually, no, wait. Let me go to the GFS. I didn't go that far out. Okay, let's go out to, we're going to just go through this really quickly. Out to day 7. Really just nothing to be aware of. Maybe a little bit of a signature here of a tropical wave. But, I mean, there's just the atmosphere is not ready just yet. we have the sea surface temperatures, we have the heat content there, but the atmosphere and the sea surface are not aligned right now. We have to have that coupling that happens, and the atmosphere starts to cooperate, and then it's game on. That's just how it works. It's kind of like, just because the light is green, so I'm just going to do a little analogy here. I hope you all like my analogies. Have you ever been at an intersection where the light is green and it says yield, turn left, yield on green, right? Just because it's green, you don't go unless cars coming towards you or the opposing traffic, there's no traffic coming your way. Then you can make that turn. So basically, we have the green light right now, but the atmosphere is just not cooperating. Hopefully that made pretty good sense. I'm not the best at analogies, but I do my best at making things as simple as they can be. So the Canadian model, let's go forward in time here. Again, there's our disturbance right there. It's really tangled up with that westerly flow. So again, really not seeing much with that. And then the Canadian indicating that 96L. By the way, that is dubbed 96L invest. That is. And I mean, really, that is not really a signature for a very strong tropical storm. Maybe a depression at the very most is all we're going to go with this. I know a few YouTubers out there. I'm not going to name them all down because, again, I'm not that type of person. But they're saying, oh, this is going to probably become Emily, or it could become Emily. Pre-naming this early is not the best idea. We don't have very good model support of a name system at the moment, and that's why I just do not have a lot of hope or impetus that this is going to earn its next name. And that's fine. We can get a little good reprieve before mid-August and late August, because climatological speaking, folks, I've said it time and time again, like I said, we're not supposed to have any named storms right now. It just does not make sense to me. All right, because we have the dry air, we have the Saharan dust, we have some shear out there. Okay, and so we're this is normal, this is typical. We have not done the hike yet to the very top. By mid-August, once we get into this portion, and Mark Sedeth even explained this in his video, big shout out goes to him, by the way. It's this portion of the Atlantic hurricane season from mid-August, kind of the last 2 weeks of August, all the way through perhaps the first week of October. Game on, pedal to the metal, you know it. It's going to be a busy period. There might be some reprieves in there where we might see maybe a few days of no tropical systems or something, but overall, we're gonna have something to track once we get into the second to last week of August into September, during which we typically peak of the climatological perspective of the Atlantic hurricane season. Now, when it comes to sea surface temperatures, now remember how I was telling you, things are not lining up. The dry air is there. We got some shear going on in the tropical Atlantic and the Caribbean. Not a whole lot of shear, but enough to kind of stunt these systems just enough. Okay. And so, I mean, the sea surface temperatures are there. We are 26 Celsius. The magic number is 80 degrees Fahrenheit or greater. By the way, 80 degrees can support major hurricanes, and 84 degrees Fahrenheit or higher can support violent hurricanes. Just FYI, if you guys are wondering about that. So when we see these sea surface temperatures like this time of the year, I mean, we are about as warm as we typically are during the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. So for like mid-September standards, this is what we should see. We are in late July, and this is what we're seeing already. So just imagining how much warmer the waters will get by the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season, which again is about this September 10th through the 12th time frame. So what I'm saying here is, if we get any of these tropical waves, and I'm telling you, again, I'm not trying to fearmonger you guys. I'm not trying to scare you all, okay? It takes me a lot to get concerned, all right? You know that. You know me very well. You know how I roll with the tropics. But these sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico are 30 plus Celsius. I mean, that is mid to upper 80s. Okay. I have friends down here that live in the deep south, okay, and they have said it's been muggy, it's been humid, dew points in the low to mid 80s, temperatures in the triple digits. It's just been sweltering there. So what I mean here is if we get a tropical wave, and it doesn't need to be very organized to begin with, all we have to have is something, let's go back to the satellite imagery here. All we need to have is something that looks kind of like this, okay, kind of all innocuous, but all you need is that latent heat to get going in the ocean or out of the ocean into the atmosphere, and it's game on. So therefore, when I see sea surface temperatures like this, this is very concerning. This is literally alarming by a lot of standards, and if you don't believe me, look it up for yourself. Very warm Gulf waters, very warm in the southwestern Atlantic, and any tropical wave that comes through this area that takes full advantage of the sea surface temperatures, there's no shear, there's a lot of moisture out there. Let's just say everything lines up. The atmosphere is coupled from ground up to the tropopause, which is 200 millibars. It's going to get nasty very quickly. These systems are going to explode very quickly. They're going to rapidly intensify. We're going to have a lot of a situation with what we had with Maria, with Irma. Dorian underwent rapid intensification. We had it with Harvey. We saw it with, let's see here. We saw it with Ian. My goodness, Ian just took off like a rocket right before it made landfall over Florida. And I mean, that look at the distance. I mean, it only allowed a day and a half or about a day over the open Gulf waters. And sea surface temperatures, to be quite honest, were only 29 degrees Celsius. We're dealing with sea surface temperatures, folks, about 30 to 31 Celsius, and that's just extra octane fuel for these systems. And again, I'm not trying to scare you all, but I'm telling you right now, if the atmosphere can line up, lots of moisture, upward motion, these convective coupled Kelvin waves line up with the favorable sea surface temperatures, look out. It could get bad very, very quickly, and I hope we do not see that. I mean, fingers crossed we don't see anything move into the Caribbean, into the Bahamas, the Gulf of Mexico, or even along the eastern seaboard, because if it happens, I am telling you, it might not end very well at all. So upper ocean heat content is very high as well. I mean, these numbers, folks, I mean, lots of dark reds here, lots of dark reds. That is literally uncharted upper ocean heat content. There's a lot of heat being stored below the ocean, not just at the surface, but below the surface, down as deep as, say, 5, maybe 600 feet. And again, that's jet fuel, that's gasoline for your car to start the engine and to, drive. That's what's going to drive the Atlantic hurricane season. If we get any of these waves moving over this upper ocean heat content, I mean, there's a lot of fuel ready to go. And in other words, the Atlantic is ready to go right now. Just the atmosphere has to cooperate, and that usually doesn't happen until mid or kind of late August into September and even into early October. Okay, so now I want to compare you all to past hurricane seasons to this year because, I mean, we want to look at this climatology speaking, so we understand that, yes, just because it's calm now that we only have had one hurricane, in reality, our first hurricane usually doesn't happen until late July or even early August. So we have had Hurricane Dawn already. And yeah, that matches up with Danny that formed in mid-July. So when we look at the 2003 Atlantic hurricane season, by the way, that one was very destructive. Very high ACE producing score, similar to with what we might be seeing this year. Actually, if we go, I think they have it here. I wish they had the ACE producing number here. If we actually go back, we might be able to see that. Yeah, 176 ace producing score. Why is that important? Because that's quality over quantity. It's kind of like my YouTube channel, right? Just because I produce a lot of videos doesn't mean I'm going to get more views and more subscribers, right? That's kind of what this is illustrating. Quality is the ace score over the number of named storms. We could have one Category 5 hurricane that lasts for 2 months, and it could really add up very quickly versus numerous named storms, and we get the same output. So where are we at versus where we should be, you know, or kind of where we're at this year? Well, when we look at the 2003 Atlantic hurricane season, we had Claudette, we had Danny that formed in mid-July. I mean, that's, you know, that's kind of a little bit of unusual, but that's also during that, you know, when we look at this image here, that was during this portion. Let me find it right in here during the little peak there that we saw. You can even see it here, the number of hurricanes typically during that time frame. So when we look at the 2003, I mean, we're right on par. I mean, we are up to our D named storm. What's next? We might have, well, I'm not going to say it, but our E named storm if it forms. And look at that, 2003, you know, that didn't form until mid-August. We did not get our first major hurricane until late August. And look at September. I mean, we had 2 major hurricanes, let alone that season. So just because we don't see much in late July or early to mid-August, do not let your guard down, folks. I mean it. I mean it. Climatology, like the National Hurricane, or not the National Hurricane Center, but the Colorado State University, they have been doing really good. And they know what they're talking about. And they are predicting a very busy season. So that's what we're looking at here too. Also, does 2004 ring a bell? That was a very busy season too, wasn't it? 2004, 226.88 on the ACE score. Yeah, we only had 16 named storms, but we also had more major hurricanes. So that was a very, 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 very active season with very, very high ACE point producing season. It meant the quality was outstandingly traumatic over the number of named storms. I mean, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major hurricanes, yet the season really didn't get going until early August. Early August. We're not there yet. Okay? And it was it was busy up until early October. It can start late, but it could also end up being really busy and destructive because the longer we wait, the more active it can actually end up getting because those waters are untapped with. A great example, too, is the 2017 Atlantic hurricane season. Let's see how many ACE producing points that had. 224. But yet, 18 named storms. Why? Because we had Irma, we had Maria. Yeah, we had Irma, we had Maria, we had Harvey, we had Philia, we had Lee. You know them. They were, 8 highly ACE producing storms. In fact, we had 3 major hurricanes at once for like a day. So it just shows you. Look where we're at. Dawn, mid-July, right? And Dawn became a hurricane this year. What's next? Emily. If Emily could form in late July, man, that is ironic. That is literally where we're at here. So what could that mean for August? I mean, we might get some hurricanes here by mid-August. Who knows? Even so it's not on the GFS doesn't mean it won't happen. But look at when we had our major activity. It waited until early throughout the entire month of September. Just because it's quiet now, relatively quiet, it's July. Okay, it's not September. We have a whole entire month yet before the peak of Atlantic hurricane season. Actually, over a month yet. A month and a half, perhaps, before we get there. And I'm telling you, give it time. It's coming. There are a lot of climate forecast agencies are strongly suggestive we're going to have a really, really bad season ahead. And I can show you proof. One last thing, 26-minute video here. Sorry about that. I mean, You can see it here. The Weather Channel, July 19th, 20 named storms. That was 8 days ago. 10 hurricanes, 5 major hurricanes. I mean, you can see it right here. All the forecasts that were made in June, I mean, anywhere between, we're looking at 18 to 25 named storms, potentially 8 to 12 major hurricanes, 8 to 12 hurricanes, and potentially 3 to 6 major hurricanes. That, my guys, or my friends, that, I mean, I'm not trying to hype and cause fear here, but I mean, look at this for yourself. I'm going to have a link in the description on the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season here on Wikipedia. I mean, it says it all. There's data to back it up that I think we're going to have guaranteed more than 18 named storms, maybe even 20 named storms. If it is a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane, it really won't matter because, I mean, busy is busy and we really got to watch this, okay? All right, okay, my favorite part here, let me bring myself back in to this. I want to give you some excitement here, is that coming up, mark your calendar, folks. August the 5th, 2023 at 9:30 in the morning, I'm going to be hosting a live stream on the retrofit infrastructure upgrade. I don't know if I spelled that infrastructure properly, but I'm sorry about that. But I'm doing a huge project. I mean, this is going to cost quite a bit of money, over $2,000 to even persuade with. So I moved forward with the project. It's going to actually be done on the 5th in 2 stages. The first part is going to be on August the 5th at 9:30 in the morning. We're going to be doing a live stream on that. We're going to be putting up a new mast for the weather station to provide more accurate weather data. And then the second part, also mark your calendar for 9 in the morning on August the 12th. This will be part 2 of 2, so this is done in 2 phases. The first phase is we're going to put in the cement and put in the infrastructure, like the ground anchors and everything to make sure it's very sturdy. So when we put in the station on the 12th of August, it will be really well in there. And so this will be done in 2 stages. But I want to have you guys join those 2 live streams. It's going to be fun. We're going to celebrate, and we're going to have a fun time here on the YouTube channel. Mark your calendar, August the 5th and the 12th. Those are 2 Saturdays in a row, one after another. We're going to be hosting this live stream. But, well, otherwise, though, on the side note of those announcements, if you guys want to share this, subscribe, and also leave a like, that would be great because you guys are awesome. This ended up being 30 minutes long, but it's better that if I get my point across to you all with what we're dealing with this Atlantic hurricane season than just kind of go through this in about 10 minutes and not really cover much detail. You guys love my detail. You guys love my passion about this. So I want you all to also share this with your family and friends because I have it all. I mean, I'm ready to go. I have a lot of resources to share with you all when we go live on these events, such as flying through a hurricane in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I can't wait to do that with the new internet provider that I have. I've got it. I mean, I promise you guys, this is going to be probably the best Atlantic hurricane season live stream, video coverage, anything that I have done in my career of the last 6 years or so. All right, but otherwise, share, like, subscribe, and I'll be back with you in the office tomorrow with more on the tropics.